Hi guys, this is day 2 of lesson 21. We move forward with the parallel lines and the transversal, and today we're going to go ahead and find out what the measure of these angles are going to be. Okay, so before we get into the instruction on the book, I'm going to go ahead and move back to the simple drawing first to just kind of show you guys how these numbers work. Okay, so here's your parallel line K and J again, and it's cut by this transversal. Okay, so this transversal here, this line that cuts through them. And when we have a transversal that cuts a parallel line, we form a bunch of different angles that are congruent or angles that are supplementary to one another, so that linear pair that makes 180 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and walk through some of these angles, and let's put some numbers to go with it. So for example, angle number 1, let's say that angle number 1 is 130 degrees. Okay, so this is a given. This is what I'm giving you right now. So that's 130 degrees. Okay, so you have a bunch of different angles. The first one is a vertical angle. Angle 1 and 3 are vertical angles. That means they are across from each other. Okay, so vertical angles are, we learned from last unit, is that they are opposite and equal to one another. They are congruent. So if 1 is 130, 3 is also 130 degrees. 130 degrees. Okay, they are vertical angles. The next one, 3 and 5. We learned that yesterday. 3 and 5 are alternate. They are on alternating sides of the transversal. Interior angles, that means they're on the inside of the parallel line. So here's the parallel line, we're on the inside, that's the word interior. So alternate interior angles. Okay, so alternate interior angles that we learned yesterday are also congruent. That means they are, the measures of the angles are the same. So we have also 130 degrees. Okay, the next one, there are a bunch of different ways to determine that angle 7 is congruent to those guys as well. We have 5 is vertical. Okay, so vertical to angle 7 and vertical angles are equal. So 5 is 130, 7 has to be 130 as well. We have alternate exterior angle. We learned that yesterday as well. Okay, so alternate exterior, 130 here, angle 1, not 3, I'm sorry, angle 1 here is on the opposite side of angle 7, opposite sides of the transversal of angle 7, and they're on the outside of the parallel line. So we call that alternate exterior angle. So if 1 is 130, 7 is 130 as well. Okay, the last part is 7 and 3. So 7 and 3 here, they are in corresponding positions. Okay, so corresponding positions means that they're in the same spot. Angle 3 here is at the bottom right-hand corner, okay, of this parallel line. Angle 7 is also on the bottom right-hand corner. We call those corresponding angles. And what's significant about corresponding angles that are made when parallel lines are cut by a transversal is that corresponding angles are equal. So since 3 is 130, that means 7 is 130 as well. Okay. And so the rest of the angles, if you look at the rest of the angles, it's made up of angles that are a linear pair to the one that is already existing. So 1 and 2 makes a supplementary angle. 1 and 4 makes a supplementary angle. 3 and 2 makes supplementary angles. Okay, and so on. I didn't get to cover this yesterday, but we call these guys right here same side interior angles. Okay, so same side interior angles also make 180 degrees. They're on the same side and they're both in the interior. So if this is 130 plus whatever the angle of angle 6 is, the measure of angle 6 is going to be 180 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through how to find each one of these as well. Okay, so we know that this makes 180 degrees, and we have this is 130 already. So we're going to subtract 180 minus 130, and that's nice and easy. It gives you 50 degrees. Okay, so angle 2 is 50 degrees. Why? Because it's supplementary to angle 1, or it's a linear pair. Any of those words that you can use is fine. If angle 2 is 50 degrees, what is angle 4 going to be? Angle 4 is opposite from angle 2. We call those vertical angles. Vertical angles are equal, so this is 50 as well. Okay? Angle 4 and 6. 4 and 6 are alternate interior angles. Okay, alternate interior angles are equal. So if this is 50, this is 50 as well. Also, angles 6 and 2 are corresponding angles. They're in the same location but different parallel line. Okay, so this is corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are equal as well. Okay. And then we could say that interior, same side interior angles equal 180 degrees. So that's another reason for this to be 50 as well. Okay, since 6 is 50, 8 is also 50 because they are vertical angles. Okay, and vertical angles are equal. Okay, and you kind of see how that works, and notice that in this whole thing here, there are only two set of numbers, 130 and 50. Those are the only two numbers that you see. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and take us back to our lesson for today here, okay, where they're finding the measures of different angles, and they make it a little bit more complex because they throw in another transversal as well, but you have to kind of be able to see that there's two transversal, but you still are cutting through that parallel line. Okay, so number 2, it says that letter M represents the measure. What is the measure? That angle sign, it represents angle. Okay, so what's the measure of angle A? So you're looking for angle A. Here's angle A right here. Okay, and you got to look at all the information that we know today, okay, that we learned today and yesterday. Okay, so angle A, what do we know about angle A? Angle A is vertical to this 55 degrees, and because they are vertical, what does that tell us? So if this is 55 degrees, it's vertical to angle A. What is the measure of angle A? Okay, so angle A is 55 degrees. Go ahead and write that in. Okay, the next one. Number 3, the measure of angle B. The measure of angle B. Here's angle B. What information do you have that's going to help you find out what the measure is? So look for what you have. These are vertical angles. Again, they are across from each other. Vertical angles are equal. Since this is 65, what is angle B going to be? Okay. The next one, use alternate interior angles to find each measure. So alternate interior angles. So as you are looking at it, try to kind of erase in your mind the other set of the other transversal that you see. Okay, so they're asking for what is the measure of angle C? Here's angle C. Okay, so angle C is corresponding to this angle right here. So ignore the other line. You have this angle right here. So since this angle is 65, angle C is corresponding to that angle. But they asked us to look at alternate interior angles. Okay, so corresponding, we know that they're equal. Alternate interior angles is this one right here. So C and B. And we already know that B is 65 degrees because it's vertical to that 65 degrees, and now B is the relationship that it has to C is that it's alternate interior, so we know that it's going to be the same as well, so also 65 degrees. Okay, measure of angle D. Here's measure of angle D. Alternate interior. What angle is alternate interior to it? D is alternate interior to 60 degrees here, so a measure of angle D is 60 degrees. Okay, and notice, guys, I'm not writing it for you. I want you guys to hear it. You guys can write it down on your document that you're going to turn in, but I want you guys to actually have that and listen to what I'm saying and write it down on your own. Okay, measure of angle E. Look at angle E here. Alternate interior, actually they want you to use same side interior to find the measure. Really, quite honestly, you can use whatever method you want. Same side interior means this and this. Same side interior angles equal to 180 degrees. So subtract, you have 180 minus 60. So 180 minus 60, and if you go do the math there, that gives you E is, let me go ahead and just write that down so you guys can have that. So E is going to be 180 minus 60, which is going to be 120 degrees. Okay, so 120 for E. Okay, the next one, use corresponding angles to find this measure. The measure of angle F. Here's the measure of angle F, and corresponding angle is right there. Okay, they are corresponding to one another, so the measure of angle F is 60 degrees. Okay, number 8, it says list lines P and Q are parallel. Give 3 reasons, give 3 ways to reason angle 1 and 7 are congruent. How do you know that these two are congruent? Okay, so based on what we've learned, go ahead and discuss how they're congruent. So alternate interior angles are congruent, vertical angles are congruent, and kind of describe it. For example, you have angle 3 and 7 are corresponding angles. We know that they are congruent. Angle 1 is vertical to angle 3. So angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent. We know that angle 3 and angle 7 is already congruent because they are corresponding. So that's one way. Another way you have, I want you guys to actually go ahead and try this and see if you guys can come up with the reasons on your own. Okay? Okay, the next part, they kind of try to make it a little tricky because they add a bunch of extra lines. It's a kind of a parallelogram, but you are using the same concepts that you've learned today and yesterday. Okay, so it says in number 9, it says in the diagram A, B, C, D is a parallelogram. List all the angles that are congruent to angle 1 and all the angles that are congruent to angle 8. So I'm going to go ahead and list all the angles that are congruent to angle 1, and I'm going to have you guys do angle 8 on your own. And then for the next part, it says for the angles listed below, tell how you know whether they are congruent to either angle 1, or angle 8. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start out with letter A. What's congruent to angle 1? Here's angle 1 right here. So which one's congruent? So first of all, we have angle 3 is congruent because they're vertical. Okay, to angle 1. The next one, I'm going to go ahead and let's go this way first. Okay, so angle 1 and 3, okay, vertical angles are equal. 3 and 5 here, so 5 is congruent to 1 as well because these are alternate interior, or it's corresponding to angle 1. Okay, the next one, angle 5 and 7 are vertical, so they're equal as well. So far we have what's congruent to 1 is 3, 5, and 7. Okay, and then we're just going to go ahead and work up from there. So same thing, alternate interior, so angle 9. Okay, vertical angle, angle 11. Okay, so we have these guys right here. Same thing, alternate interior to 9 is angle 15 is congruent as well. And then we have angle 13. So those list all the angles that are congruent to angle 1. Okay, and the reasons for them. Go ahead and try angle 8. You're going to look at angle 8, what's congruent to angle 8, and list all the angles that are congruent to angle 8 on your own. Okay, letter C, D, and E, they're asking you, these angles are congruent to either angle 1 or angle 8, and you have to let me know why. Why are they congruent to those angles? So for example, this one here, angle 6. Why is angle 6 congruent to one of them? Well, we got to figure out which one. Is it angle 1 or angle 8? And here's angle 6, and here's angle 8. And I know that it's congruent to angle 8 because vertical angles are equal. And I love that about geometry. Geometry just asks you, give me the reasons why. Okay, make sure that you know the definition, and the definition of vertical is that vertical angles are equal. Okay, so this is congruent to angle 8 because it's vertical to it. All right, and go ahead and do letter D and E on your own. Number 10, it says reasoning about transversals and congruent angles can give you information about different polygons. In the parallelogram formed by these lines, what do you notice about diagonally opposite angles? So diagonally opposite angles right here. Okay, and if you look at it, if you actually follow it through, so these guys are equal here, and these guys are showing that it's going to be equal as well. So these guys are equal, so 8 and 14 are congruent as well. Okay, the last 3, I want you guys to kind of think about this and try these on your own. I'll read the questions with you, and then I want you guys to do this on your own. Actually, I'm kind of running out of time, so I'm going to have you guys read those on your own and try these on your own. And if you have questions for me, we'll talk about that. Okay, I'll talk to you later, guys. Have a good day.